Hey guys, Gooby here. This week I'm going to be going over the new Tempo Mage deck. This is a list I've been seeing on ladder a lot lately. It's pretty consistent. It's similar to the old Tempo Mage deck that everyone was running a couple months ago. The big difference I guess now is not really anyone's using Flame Strike now, for the most part. Emperor's out now too, so of course people are using him. It's great with Antonidas and all the spare parts you're getting, and Flame Waker. Emperor's just a great card with combos. And because you have Flame Waker and Antonidas, you just have a lot of combos in your deck to get free damage off, or free fireballs. So it's a really great card in this deck, I think. Starting off, we have Mirror Image here. It's a really good 1-mana spell. Your other real option is like Ice Lance, which isn't that great since you're not really freezing anything. You could run it if you played Snow Chugger and Water Elemental as well, but it just doesn't really have any place in this deck. Arcane Missiles would also be okay, but I think Mirror Image is just straight up better on ladder because of all the aggressive decks. There's not a lot of ways to like get through the Mirror Images without attacking. Like Hunter only runs like quick shots, kill commands to get to your small minions through the Mirror Image, and then stuff like Zoo really only runs Implosion. So it's really tough to get to your stuff like Sorcerer's Apprentice or Flame Waker. So they're gonna have to kill the Mirror Images first usually. There are other decks out there that of course can kill them, but they have to waste a lot of mana to do it. Before getting through the mirror images. And then Clockwork Gnome. I only run one of this card. Some people do run two of it, but I think that it's kind of inconsistent. I'd rather just have fewer small drops and more mid-game stuff as well. So I think just one's good. The spare part's amazing. It's pretty much why you use it. Mana Worm. Pretty obvious choice here. If you're going to be running a lot of spells, you should be running cards that synergize with the spells. More 1-drops I feel are necessary, so Mana Worm does have a really good place here. Then Flame Cannon and Frostbolt, they have pretty similar functions. Flame Cannon is obviously RNG, but it does more damage. But Frostbolt's just a lot better in general, because you can also freeze the face. Does 3 damage to any target you want. Like, freeze is just a good mechanic in general. You don't have to kill stuff, you can just freeze it for a turn and maybe just attack them in the face. Gives you a lot of time and flexibility, so I really like Frostbolt. But yeah, Flame Cannon's also okay. And then next is Unstable Portal. RNG is pretty fun. It can win you games. It can sometimes backfire, not be worth playing, but it's a really good card overall. Usually you're going to get something that's, pretty good. Usually you're going to have something you can play on curve with it when you do use it. Sometimes, yeah, like I said, it backfires. You get something like a Wisp or Target Dummy, but it's still okay. It's a cheap spell. You're just looking for cheap spells in this deck for the most part, so it's pretty good. Mad Scientist. Anyone that's familiar with Mage knows that Mad Scientist and Mirror Entity is a really good combo. I don't run a counterspell in this deck because I am playing stuff like Mechanical Yetis, and other people are playing decks like this, so it's really easy for counterspell to just not be that useful. So that's why I'm just playing Mirror Entity. And then Sorcerer's Apprentice. Since this deck is pretty spell based, this card's really good. Just makes everything cheaper. All your spare parts are going to cost 0. Mirror Image is going to cost 0. Turn 3, you can just drop Flame Cannon and Frostbolt, and it goes great with Flame Waker. If you can get like a Flame Waker, a Mana Worm, and a Sorcerer's Apprentice to like just all live for like one turn, and you have like spells in your hand, you just get a huge advantage. You can get a lot of damage off for free. All your spells are just really cheap. Maybe after you play all your spells, you can drop a minion or just use your hero power. So it's just a really good synergy. Arcane Intellect. I run 2 of this card. It's one of those cards that's pretty debatable if you should run 1 or 2, I think. But I really like 2 at the moment because it's really easy to dump your entire hand and just end up with no options later in the game. So it's really easy just to play this card in the mid game or even late game. This deck can go to late game pretty easily. So I like 2 to Arcane Intellects. Flame Waker. This is kind of the reason why this deck came back into play. Flame Waker just deals a ton of damage. He has really good stats for a 3-drop. One of the problems before is Mage really didn't have any 3-mana minions. Like, they're just all spells, mostly secrets too. So, you did have Kirin Mage, and Suit Spirit really isn't that great. But Flame Waker is definitely the reason why this deck came back into popularity. It just does way too much damage for free. So, it's a really great card. It's pretty much one of the core things of the deck, kind of like Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mana Worm, I'd say. So, definitely you should pick up this card if you want to play this deck. Fireball. It's a really good spell, really good at finishing games, really good at getting through big minions with taunt. It just really clears a lot of threats, and it can end the game really easily. So yeah, really great card. Mechanical Yeti has a very similar use to the Clockwork Gnome. It has a lot better stats. Chillwind Yeti used to be like a really good card back in the day, and Mechanical Yeti is okay, especially in this deck. It overperforms than would like in any other deck because you can make great use of the spare parts. So it's a really great minion, I'd say, in this deck. Azure Drake, similar to Arcane Intellect, except it's a minion. The spell power is somewhat relevant because you do have 6 cards that do spell damage, so it's pretty good. Because you're going to be dumping your hand a lot of the time, you do want the Azure Drake to draw you cards, because you can end up on turn 5 with like 1 or 2 other cards in your hand easily, and like really nothing else to do. So yeah, just draw power is really nice in this deck. Emperor Thorson, as I mentioned before, it just has way too much synergy with Antonidas and Flamewaker, and it gives you a lot of free damage or fireballs. And it's almost like a 5/5 with Taunt, because your opponent usually has to kill it unless you're close to dead. So it's just great. I would definitely suggest playing it in this deck. Antonidas, kind of a no-brainer. You run a lot of spells. You want to get a lot of free fireballs. Just a great card. And the infamous Dr. Boom. If you ever plan on going to mid-game or late game, you should probably just put Dr. Boom in your deck for the most part. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck. Replacements, I think you could run a Harrison and take out like an Azure Drake, stuff like that. There are a few replacements as well. I wouldn't play like Echo Medivh in this deck. You could make your deck less or more minion based with like smaller minions, take out some of the bigger minions if you want to play Echo Medivh. But I don't think this deck would really need it too much. You can't really use stuff like Goblin Blast Mage because you don't run a lot of mechs. If you want to run more mechs, then you could definitely play the Goblin Blast Mage. But if you want to take out like Unstable Portals or like the Mad Scientist and Secrets, you could definitely just put in more mechs and play Goblin Blast Mage. Since it's such a great card, I think it'd be worth it. Flame Strike would also be another good card, I think, if you want to make a replacement. And as I mentioned before, Arcane Missiles is okay if you're not liking the mirror images. Or you could even tech one and take out like the Clockwork Gnome. Other than that, I feel like the deck's really solid. There's not too much you can tech. You could play other big drops like Ragnaros, though. And Kel'Thuzad wouldn't work in here. Alexstrasza wouldn't be that great in here either. I'd say, yeah, for the most part, for like other big minions, I would say just Ragnaros. It gets you kind of what you need. It gives you board control on the spot, although it is RNG. Sometimes it can finish off games as well. So for big minions, I'd suggest Ragnaros if you don't have like Dr. Boom or Antonidas. Alright, well I think that's all I had to say about the deck, so let's go play some games with it.